On February 18, 2023, Brass Birmingham became the #1 ranked game on BoardGameGeek, a reign at the top that lasted all of 24 hours before Gloomhaven reclaimed the #1 spot. There's always a bit of jockeying at the top when a game rises to the #1 ranked level on BoardGameGeek, where fans of the game that have now dropped are like, wait a minute, I hadn't actually rated that game yet. Let me go and give it a 10. And people who are not fans of the new game will say, let me give it a 1. I'm never going to play that. The game is no good. And there'll be some back and forth there. That happened when Gloomhaven took over Pandemic Legacy. It happened when Pandemic Legacy took over from Twilight Struggle. It happened when Agricola took over from Puerto Rico. It just happens because people are very invested, for reasons I do not understand, in which game is going to be at the #1 slot. Don't get me wrong, there are industry implications for the BoardGameGeek rankings, because it does have an effect. When people are discovering hobby games for the first time, they're coming into the market, not having played anything, and they want to look at the list. They come across it somehow and say, #1 game, that must be the best game on the market. I'm going to go get that and try that, because why try anything other than the best? And then they go out and spend $140 on Gloomhaven and realize it's a very involved game with lots of rules. And then maybe it's not for them. Hopefully they discover that before they spend that money. The same thing could happen with Brass Birmingham or Twilight Struggle or Pandemic Legacy. All of these are involved games that are not necessarily something that a person just entering the hobby game industry might want to dive into. It's a big ask sometimes to get over the rule book and get into the game. In a news post that I wrote about Brass Birmingham becoming #1, someone mentioned that a game cafe owner they knew looked at the top ranked games and just got all those for the cafe, which is a terrible idea, because it's unlikely that someone is going to stop in for a coffee and then pull Twilight Imperium 4th edition off the shelf and say, yeah, let's dive into this. Read the rule book, spend 8 to 12 hours playing the game. Not going to happen. Not ideal for every situation. So the rankings are important in a sense, because of course, better to be ranked high than low. You'll have more visibility. People will look at it and assume that a higher ranked game is better than a lower ranked game. But the rankings are also deceiving because there's a lot of attention on very few games. If you look at the total number of games ranked on BoardGameGeek, and to be ranked, a game has to have at least 30 ratings. So 30 individuals have rated a game on a scale from 1 to 10 using whatever metric they want. We have a suggested metric for what a 1 means and a 5 means and a 10 means, but you can rate a game whatever you want on a scale from 1 to 10. And if it's got 30 ratings, it will then be ranked, and then you're going to see where it stacks up against everything else. And we have, at this moment, nearly 24,000 games ranked in the BoardGameGeek database. The bottom game, as always, is Tic-Tac-Toe. Okay, it makes sense. Top game, at the moment, Gloomhaven, Brass Birmingham, Pandemic Legacy, Ark Nova, Twilight Imperium, Terraforming Mars. Okay, we can go down the list here. And it seems awesome to be at the top, but if you're within the top 240 ranked games, you are still among the top 1% of ranked games on BoardGameGeek. 240. Top 1%. And it's hard to keep that in mind, that that's a huge number of games. That volume of games, 240 games, is a massive number. Top 1%. And even if you look at the top 2,400, the top 10%, that's more games than most people would ever play in their lifetime, assuming they have lots of time and friends and ability to do all that. That is just a huge number of games. Top 10%. It's just, they're almost on par. You can imagine if you're going with Sturgeon's Law, where 80% of everything is crap and the top 20% is good, that's 4,800 games, which is probably more games than you will ever need to consider, ever need to look at. And even that number is deceptive because those games are ranked by people who are not you. And their taste might not necessarily be your taste. I put my number one ranked game here. Number one rated game, Innovation. It's a 10 for me. I have a few other games that are a 10, but Innovation is my number one game of all time. I had no idea what this thing was ranked until I looked at it just before I recorded this video. It's, I think, 350? Whatever. It doesn't matter what it's ranked because, to me, personally, this is the best game of all time. And yet, I know this is definitely not a game for everyone. It's not a game that I would just recommend blindly to anyone who is looking for a game to play because I know it's not going to be to everyone's taste. I understand that. And that's the case with all of the games in the BoardGameGeek database. I look at the top 100 and I believe I have actually rated only 2 of them. I have not played most of them because I don't think they're for me. I know that ahead of time by looking at the description, seeing what they're like, watching someone else play, seeing it at a convention, getting a review. I know it's not for me. I never play it. I'm never going to rate it. So it gets a pass for me. It's not going to be downvoted by me because it's to my taste, so I don't even play it. And this is a phenomenon that I've noticed over time. When I first started playing hobby games in 2003, there were many fewer games released in a year. And we get together in the game group, and someone would suggest something, and it might not sound appealing to me, but I'm going to play it because they're suggesting it, and I get to suggest something later that they will play that is maybe not to their taste. So I felt like I played a wider range of games because there were fewer games out there, playing with a mix of people, and we would just try different things. And these days, I feel much more like I am often playing things that are more tailored towards my taste. When I'm playing things for fun, I am playing things that are much more tailored to my taste. I also do videos for BoardGameGeek. I post pictures. I try things out and see what I want to do videos of and talk about new releases. And often I'm playing things that are somewhat to my taste, or at least not outside the realm of possibility of something I would like. So I try stuff and it's fine. Or I'll try stuff and it's really good because I'm already filtering for what I want to play. And that happens on a huge scale if you look at the market as a whole. So if you look at Gloomhaven and see that it is a $140 dungeon crawling game with some persistent elements over time as you unlock items that change over the course of a game, and you realize that is completely not for me, you're never going to play it, and so the potential low vote that you would cast never gets cast. If you hated Pandemic, or even not really a fan, you probably skipped Pandemic Legacy. Why would you play a game that is similar to something that is not to your taste? So your low vote, your potential low vote for Pandemic Legacy, the vote that you should have given, the rating that you should have given, doesn't go there because you never experienced the game. So the market has broadened to such a degree that you have so many choices available, you can gravitate towards those games that are perfect for you. And Gloomhaven was perfect for tens of thousands of people. This giant dungeon crawling game, persistent campaign elements, all this that you could dive into, it was perfect for tens of thousands of people. Voted highly, goes up to the top. Number one ranked game. Whereas all the other people just bowed out, didn't get involved because a casual $140 purchase for a thing that you're kind of iffy over, Probably not going to happen. Probably got other choices to make with that money and with your time. So I'm not surprised to see something like Gloomhaven rise to the top, or Pandemic Legacy, because again, if you're a fan of Pandemic and you are willing to commit to a game campaign that's 12 to 24 games, you're going to play that with people who you love to play games with. And so you're already primed to have a good experience. It's a game based on something you love. Playing with people who you really want to play with. That's going to be a good experience. And naturally you will rate that game higher because you were already primed to like it. You can see this over time as you're looking at games coming out and then people immediately dismiss them, or it's from a designer you love and a company you love and you're just like, yep, that's going to be for me. And the people who are already sort of geared to like it will be the first ones playing it. And their ratings will go in first. In general, I'm generalizing across tens of thousands of people in the industry as a whole. I mean, it'd be awesome if everyone rated everything and actually had time to play everything. Maybe that'd be a bad thing. I know that I would not enjoy my time playing many of the games that I have skipped. I skipped them for a reason. I don't want to be forced to play them. But if I did play them and give my rating, then we'd have a more honest rating for what that game actually is. It seems like a weird system. There's lots of arguments that the ranking system on BGG is skewed because fans of the game are going to rate it highly, and if you want it ranked higher, you might downvote something else. I mean, that's just human nature where lots of things happen along those lines. And in some sense, I just feel like you have to say, just don't worry about it and get over it. It seems very dismissive. Any ranked system is going to have oddities in it because of how it's created. If you look at the best ranked movies of all time, well, who are the critics who are judging these movies? And do your taste match their taste? If not, you're going to be led astray. When the pandemic started, my family decided we're going to start going through the Oscar winners and sample all these, just try to broaden our range, get some experience, have something to do because we were stuck inside all the time. And we saw a number of great movies. All About Eve is so good. I can understand why it was rated so well, but that just worked well for me. And then we watched, among other things, Rocky, and Rocky was just a snooze. I am so weirded out that was chosen as best movie of the year. But that's what happens sometimes. It's not to my taste. It's to the taste of other people, and I am not them. And that's the case with all of these game rankings. Ideally, you can use the BoardGameGeek system to find things that are appropriate for you. You look up a game that you like, and you see other games that people have liked that one game that they have liked as well. Or you can make Geek Buddies. We have a system of BoardGameGeek for Geek Buddies where you can link yourself to other users, and then you can look at games that your Geek Buddies have rated and see how they view things. So if you play with a group and your tastes are all similar, maybe you make Geek Buddies with all of them, and then you look at only what they rate, and then you can choose from them because their taste match yours better than the population at large. Or just don't worry about the ranking and instead look at the description, watch a review, read a review, look at the pictures, maybe see if it's for you. There's lots of different ways to do it, but I would suggest not giving a lot of credence to the ranking because the people who have rated that game are probably not you. So you can find out what you want for yourself, and maybe it'll be innovation. If so, find me at a convention and play it. play me. I need to bring this game out more and try to find other people who want to play it. But again, I'm not going to push it on everyone because, yeah, tastes differ. I will make a video on innovation, though. I have not done that, and this game is more than 10 years old. I need to talk about this game more.